Hello everyone, my name is Steven Steele and welcome back to World of Tanks Tank Reviews. Today we'll be reviewing the IS-3, the Russian Tier 8 heavy tank. So as always, let's start with the armor. We have a reasonably long replay, but the armor is pretty important on this tank. So upper plate 110, not the greatest out there. As you can see, 180, 190 values. You should not rely on this upper plate when you're facing other Tier 8 heavies, as they all have 220 penetration. Then you have these two parts here in the middle that are a bit stronger. If you put it in the visual mode, you'll see these are track parts, so they're 20 more armor, just like track normally is 20 armor as well, as you can see. So that's why it's a bit stronger. This is actually a bit difficult to pen. You get some bounces off these track parts, but the rest of the upper plate is not very good, so yeah. Don't really rely on it. Lower plates, again 110 armor. As you can see from the side here, the angling is actually as good as the upper plate, if not even slightly better. So especially at close ranges, the IS-3's lower plate is not really a weak spot. It's like 210 armor. A lot of tanks will have trouble penning that. And if there's one thing to take away from the front armor here, it's not very good if you're facing tier 8 and above heavy tanks or tank destroyers. But against mediums with mediocre penetration, this is like super amazing, because there's no weak spot, which is kind of what makes it really good. Side armor 90, not very good. Track is 20 obviously, so you get some alright armor here, but if you over angle this by just a bit, you can see the values are not very good and you're gonna get penetrated a lot of the time. What is really stupid about this tank is the spaced side armor here. It's 90 armor and 30 spaced over it. But as you can see, the hull behind it is actually angled. This is angled, so when you shoot it flat here, you have around 200 armor, which is kind of ridiculous. And if you accidentally angle your sight like a moron and somebody shoots you here, like 300 armor, because you know it's Russian and Russian tanks are balanced. In real life, this plate is not 30 spaced armor. In real life, it's like 3 millimeters, but you know, fuck historic balance, because it's a Russian tank, it needs more armor, right? When we get to the turret, this is probably the real reason why this tank is considered OP as fuck. This is the turret. You see these values? You don't get this on any other turret until tier 10. This is a tier 10 turret. This is not a tier fucking 8 turret. This is a tier 10 turret. There's nothing else to say about it. The gun mantlet is, well, Russian. There's nothing really to say. This is all 250 or something angled, and this is 176, but again angled. As you can see, like the turret is angled insanely well, and like shooting the turret from the front, you have no chance of penning it really at all. This turret is as good as that on the IS-4. Well, the IS-4 is slightly better, but still, like, this is almost as good. There's one thing to note, however. If you look at the IS-3 frontally, what you can see, this part here, the roof, is 20 millimeters. Not this here, this is 80, but this part is 20. So when you see the IS-3 is not that big of a tank, so you can usually see this part of the roof, and then you can shoot it here. You will auto pen it, which is actually the best way to shoot the IS-3, or shoot the cupola here. It's actually a pretty weak cupola, so you can pen it rather easily. But yeah, that's really the only thing you can do to this turret. So yeah, an IS-3 being hull down is pretty impenetrable almost. Side of the turret is not the greatest though. You get around 180-ish, 200-ish, which is still reasonably good, but then you have this part which is definitely weaker, and this part here is also not very good. Back of the turret is obviously trash. Back of the hull is pretty bad. And the top of the tank, like the top parts here, are all 20, so RT can still land on top of you and insta-kill you, because RT is balanced and very nice for the game. We are looking at the gun depression. It's 5 degrees and elevation is 23. Gun depression is really bad, so it's actually not very good, or not, yeah, well, it's not very good for getting the tank hull down. As you can see, it's quite difficult. There's not much you can do with it, but the gun elevation is quite good. Although if you're below somebody, this tank has no armor. The moment you get like 3 degrees below somebody, they can hit this, the upper plates, and the entire like weak spot. There's nothing here, so yeah. And as always with the pike nose, when you angle, you actually lose armor on one part and you gain armor on the other parts, you can see, and to the other side just as well. So angling this tank is not very smart. The hull is not going to hold out against like 230 penetration and higher, or even like 210 already. But that's the IS-3 armor for you. Let's get to the replay. So here we are playing on Serene Coast, I believe. Yeah, the Serene Coast. Not really one of my favorite maps, but hey, sometimes you have good games on maps you don't really like. Really good matchmaking for me. About half of both teams is tier 8, just below half. So we're gonna be good. Our team has one less tier 8, which is unfortunate, but hey, what can we do? So right off the bat, let's put it out there. This is probably the most ridiculous tier 8 heavy tank. This tank has everything you could ever ask for on a heavy tank. It has, yeah, it really has everything. First of all, you've seen the turret armor. It's fucking retarded. There's no reason for this turret to be that good. Second of all, the hull armor on this, as you saw, it's not great, but the thing is that it has no weak spots, so any tier 6 or tier 7 tank can go fuck themselves, and that's one thing that really makes the IS-3 so powerful. And here you see the side armor working out. He had reasonably easy shot, but he didn't pen it, and again he tracks me, but he doesn't actually manage to pen my armor. Let's get to the more stats though. So first of all, the mobility of this tank is reasonably good. You have the top speed, which is 38, a power to weight ratio of just above 14. Throwing resistance on this tank are actually pretty decent, so it's around as fast as the IS is. It has the same engine as well, so you don't need to research it. Track traverse is 30 degrees, which is also pretty good, and you saw how the tank gets the top speed of 38 reasonably fast, and it turns reasonably well. Turret traverse is 26, which is a bit worse, but the good part about turret traverse is that you can buff it up with the ventilation and brothers in arms, and it already gets a bit better when your gunner gets the bonus from your commander. So in general, like, turret traverse is not that big of a deal. 26 is fine, really. And talking about the gun is like the IS gun, but I guess just better. I mean, penetration is 225. 390 alpha damage, like you would expect. Rate of fire is 4.51, which is actually worse than the IS. The reload's about a second longer, which is not that great, but then again you actually get really good pen instead of really mediocre pen, so you don't really have to care too much about the lower alpha, because you will at least pen every shot unless you shoot like a complete moron. Accuracy 0.4, which is also reasonably good compared to like other tanks. It's not that great, but like at the same time, when you shoot for 390, you cannot expect your gun to be accurate. And the aiming time is still a really bad 3.4, but like in these short range brawls, you can see how the enemy is struggling to pen me properly, even though that guy just fired APCR at me, the gold ammo. And here is a really epic kill for my buddy. That was really nice. But yeah, the tank does reasonably well in close range. It's a great tank for playing aggressive. You get these random bounces and you shoot somebody in the face for 390. The good pen and the good alpha damage makes it perfect. It doesn't matter that it's inaccurate really. All that you need is alpha damage and penetration, and that is exactly what the gun delivers. So, to get into a few more stats, the hit points of the IS-3 are 1500, which is really bad actually. You can kind of feel it. It's like 100 less than other heavies get, which is a bit of a weakness. If the tank gets bent a few times in a row, you're going to be out of hit points faster than normally, but you have bigger alpha damage, so you still tend to trade really well. And just trading shots with this is an effective playstyle just because of how good it is at trading shots, really. Like, this tank can trade shots all day and not give a shit. And you can see there again, I get tracked, but I don't actually take damage, which is what this tank is really good for. I have a reasonably good crew on this, so I repair my track reasonably fast as well. And now we're just gonna rush into that guy. One of the tricks you can do with the IS-3 against low pen guns is, or well, yeah, lower tiers in general, you can just face hug them and they can't do anything. You are as pretty much as fast as a medium. And in like bad matchmaking, that's exactly why this tank is probably overpowered. In good matchmaking, you can just rush forward and crush everybody, which is exactly what I'm doing here. And in bad matchmaking, you can say, well, fuck it, I'll be a medium tank today, and you can play a medium tank. I mean, obviously you're not as fast as like some of the faster mediums, but at the same time, like 38 top speed and actually reaching that and having 30 traverse is so much better than like a KV-4 or whatever you can compare this to. And the KV-4 might have better armor on the hull, but the KV-4 has a bad turret, and the KV-4 actually has hull weak spots that you can hit that this thing doesn't. It has a driver's hatch of 120mm, which actually makes the KV-4, well, more balanced in a way. And the KV-4 is a super heavy, so I can see why that works, but this alpha damage with this type of mobility on a tank that actually still gets insane armor, that's just poor balance, man. That was a bit of a questionable shot. I actually tried to track the Ferdinand, but I decided to just not to go for it. I didn't really do that very well, to be honest, but whatever. Getting to the back of the Ferdinand, the same thing applies here. You're like half medium, half heavy tank. So in these situations, you just play like a medium. You flank the enemy TDs like a medium instead of like a heavy tank. There's the enemy's RD. You can see the traverse of the turret is working out for me, and the soft stat on traversing the turret is really good, so you actually tend to have reasonably well aimed shots even like that. So the equipment I run on this is gun rammer, vertical stabilizer and ventilation. Pretty standard for a heavy like this. You don't get coated optics or binoculars. Your view range is too weak and you're kind of an aggressive tank, so binoculars is useless and coated optics aren't really gonna do that much. It would just be a waste, really. You're a Russian, that's just how the tank works. You go into a brawling corridor and you don't care about your view range. And for the crew skills, brothers in arms, repairs, smooth ride, snapshot, stuff like that is what I would go for. There you see the excellent penetration and the reasonable mobility. We can get like peek booms off just as fast as most mediums would, and that tank, that T-34 in Mark 3 has 175 pen, which is too low for this hull armor, so I can just sit there and not care about his shot because, you know, there's no way he's gonna pen me. And really, like, putting it all together, this tank is so good at going forward and killing people. I didn't use like any hull down tactics or any hull down positions. I just rushed into the enemy team and killed as many of them as I could, and doing almost 5k damage by driving forward and shooting everybody in the face. That's kind of how this tank works. That's kind of what makes it really OP as fuck, really. So here's the end of that game. We got ourselves 2,115 experience with the premium bonus. Ace tanker, obviously high caliber. 4,776 damage done. Top of the team, obviously. So yeah. Let's get to the verdict on the IS-3. Is this a good tier 8? Really? That's still the question? Alright, well, let's put it this way. This is the most dominant tier 8 tank, and I would actually don't mind to play this in tier 10 instead of some of the other tier 8s I've played. So yeah, there you go. Fuck me, this tank is overpowered. So well, hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, please leave a like or sub to the channel, and yeah, I hope to see you on the next one.